Kyalami, South Africa, 1977, a race under the bright African sun, and in true Formula One fashion, safety was optional. Tom Price, 27, young, quiet, fast, one of those drivers who made speed look calm. March 5th, it was the South African Grand Prix, round 3 of the season. He started from 9th on the grid, chasing points, and maybe a little respect. The race began clean, cars spread out, engines screaming across the long straights. By lap 22, Price was catching a Ferrari just ahead. Then, up ahead, a small flame. A car had stopped on the right side of the track. Marshals rushed in from the opposite side. 2 men, no warning, no flags. One car missed them. Price didn't. He came over the crest flat out, 270 kilometers an hour, and saw nothing until it was too late. He struck one of the marshals head on. The man was thrown over the barriers. The fire extinguisher he carried hit Price's helmet and killed him instantly. The shadow car kept going, full throttle, down the straight. By the time it hit a barrier, both men were already gone. The crowd didn't understand what they'd seen. Commentators thought it was just another crash. It wasn't. It was one of the most surreal moments in racing. A driver killed by the rescue that was supposed to save someone else. Tom Price, 1949 to 1977. In that era, doing nothing wrong could still kill you. Zandvoort, the Netherlands, 1973. A narrow track, dunes, and no room for mistakes. Roger Williamson, 25, 2-time Formula 3 champion, rookie in Formula 1. Quick, confident, the kind of driver who thought bad luck was for other people. 1973, at his second Grand Prix. He qualified mid-pack, not great, not terrible, just enough to get noticed. Race day, July 29th. Williamson started from 17th on the grid, holding steady through the opening laps. Later, he was beginning to push. On lap 8, the car touched the curb at over 200 kilometers an hour. Unfortunately, at the limit, the right front tire burst, and the March 731 flipped instantly. It landed upside down, skidding down the track in a trail of sparks. Fuel spilled, fire followed. Inside, Roger was conscious, trapped, shouting for help. There were no marshals nearby, just his friend, David Purley. Purley stopped his own car, ran across the track, and tried to turn it over by hand. Flames grew, and smoke filled the cockpit. Other cars slowed, then kept going. The marshals arrived, but with no suits, no equipment, and no idea what to do. For 2 minutes, Purley fought the fire alone. For 8 minutes, the car burned. By the time they pulled Roger out, it was too late. He never left Zandvoort. Purley was later awarded the George Medal for bravery. Roger Williamson was awarded nothing. Monza, Italy, 1970. Jochen Rindt, the Austrian who drove faster than reason allowed. He was leading the championship, far ahead of everyone else. 4 races remained, and no one could catch him. All he had to do was bring the car home in one piece, but slowing down was never part of his vocabulary. Saturday practice, clear skies, dry air, perfect conditions, the kind that made drivers forget what could happen. Rindt took out the new Lotus 72, revolutionary and unpredictable. The first few laps went smoothly, exactly as he'd hoped. Then, halfway down the straight, suddenly, a front brake shaft broke. The car darted off the line, slid through the grass, and hit the guardrail head on. The seatbelt stayed in place, but in the worst possible way. It was around his neck. Sadly, he never made it to the hospital. Back in the paddock, no one said a word. Team boss Colin Chapman sat alone, staring at the empty space that used to sound like engines. But Rindt kept winning. When the season ended, he became Formula One's first and only posthumous world champion. His wife, Nina, accepted the trophy. She smiled once, then bowed. The crowd applauded, silently. Jochen Rindt, 1942 to 1970, the champion who never saw his title. Zolder, Belgium, 1982. Gilles Villeneuve, the fearless Canadian, adored by fans, feared by his rivals. He was Ferrari's golden boy, small in size, enormous in heart. May 8th, on the last day of qualifying for the Belgian Grand Prix. Everyone was pushing harder than sense allowed. Villeneuve was fighting for pride more than points. At last, few laps, he went out late, light fuel, new tires. Ahead of him, Jochen Mass is slowing down. Villeneuve closed fast, 220 kilometers an hour through the chicane. Mass moved right to let him through. Villeneuve did the same. Contact. A touch of tires, just enough to send the Ferrari into the air. The car disintegrated before it hit the ground. Villeneuve was thrown clear, still strapped to the seat, spinning through the air. He struck the fence at more than 200 kilometers an hour. Helmet shattered. Everything stopped. The track fell silent. Mechanics ran, but there was nothing to save. They flew him to the hospital. Machines kept him alive for a few hours. He was 32. The man who once said, "I'll take every risk I can get away with," had finally found the one he couldn't. Enzo Ferrari called him a champion of courage. The press called him the last romantic of Formula One. But in the end, Gilles Villeneuve wasn't remembered for winning. He was remembered for never slowing down.